Hey guys, what's up? TKX123HD here. The NHL 16 Top 50 ratings were released today, and quite frankly, I have a lot of problems with them. I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on each of the top 50 players, as well as players that were snubbed in my opinion. I'll tell you what I think of each player, or what each player should be rated, and give you my top 50 at the end. Just a heads up before we get started, I think in general all the ratings are too high. I will say that almost every player should have a lower rating. This doesn't necessarily mean I think the player is bad. So, let's get started. Number 50, Frederik Andersen, 89 overall. I don't think too many people will disagree with me when I say that Andersen definitely doesn't deserve to be an 89 overall. He had a 2.38 goals against average last year along with a 914 save percentage. Those stats are not poor, but are nowhere near star status, which is what an 89 overall player should be. It would be a little more understandable if he had a history of being good or something, but he's only been in the league for a few years. In the end, Frederik Andersen is just an average goalie and definitely doesn't deserve an 89 overall rating. If it was up to me, I'd give him an 86. Number 49, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, 89 overall. Ekman-Larsson had a solid year last year, scoring 23 goals, a very good number for a defenseman. He only had 20 assists though, totaling 43 points. You could definitely make an argument that this is because he plays on one of the worst teams in the NHL, though. I think Ekman-Larsson is a very talented player, and obviously anytime a defenseman can score 23 goals is something special. However, when you take into consideration that he's only average defensively, and he was only 22nd among defensemen in points, I think 89 overall is a bit too high. I'd give him an 87. Number 48, Ryan Kesler, 89 overall. Ryan Kesler only put up 47 points last season. Not a terrible number by any means, but nowhere near enough to warrant an 89 overall. Ryan Strome put up 50 points, 3 more than Kesler, and he should probably only be an 85 overall in my opinion. There are two differences between Strome and Kesler though. One is that Kesler has a history of being a solid player while Strome's only been in the NHL for 2 seasons. The other is that Kesler is a great two-way player, or so we're told. He was a -5 last season, which is pretty sad considering he played on the best team in the West. Makes me think maybe Kesler isn't as good defensively as we think. Just based on the stats from last season, I would give Kesler an 85, but I'll give him some bonus points because we all know what he's capable of doing and has done in the past. I'd give Kesler an 87 overall. Number 47, Phil Kessel, 89 overall. Phil had an off year last year, scoring only 61 points with a shocking plus-minus of a -34. To be fair though, he didn't get much help from his teammates. We know what Kessel is capable of though, and he could possibly even reach career highs this season playing alongside Crosby in Pittsburgh. I'd give him an 88 overall, but only because I think all of the ratings are too high. Number 46, Mark Giordano, 89 overall. Giordano had a terrific year last year, and was a big part of the reason why Calgary was able to surprise everyone and make it to the playoffs. I think the 89 overall is more than fair, and he is one of the few players that I wouldn't rate lower. Number 45, Ryan Johansson, 89 overall. Johansson had a great year last year, putting up 71 points in 82 games. Oh, and by the way, he's only 23 years old. I think the 89 overall rating is accurate for him. Number 44, Max Pacioretty, 89 overall. Patches has been the core of the Canadiens' offense for a few years now and really hasn't had the recognition he deserves until now. I wouldn't call Pacioretty an elite forward, but he's definitely a solid player and deserving of an 89 overall rating. Damn, I agreed with 3 in a row. What's going on here? Number 43, Jeff Carter, 90 overall. Oh yay, one I disagree with. Jeff Carter put up 62 points in 82 games to the Kings last season, only one less point than Kessel. However, Kessel has been a more consistent goal scorer in the past, so let's make Carter 1 overall higher than Kessel. Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either. Carter just isn't good enough to crack the 90s, sorry. I'd give him an 87 overall. Number 42, Kevin Shattenkirk, 90 overall. Shattenkirk is a very good defenseman without a doubt, but if a player has an overall in the 90s, they should be an elite player, and Shattenkirk isn't quite good enough. He isn't on the same level as players like Weber, Carlson, or Keith. I'd give him an 88 overall. Number 41, Alex Pietrangelo, 90 overall. In my opinion, Pietrangelo is more deserving of a 90 overall rating than teammate Kevin Shattenkirk, but I think he still falls just short. I'd give him an 89. Number 40, Roman Josi, 90 overall. I think Josi is an incredibly talented defenseman, and he had a stellar season with Nashville last year, but I think he needs to prove that he can continue that success this season before he gets a 90 overall. If he has another great season in 2015-2016, then I'd be all for giving him a 90 overall rating in NHL 17. But for now, I think 90 is a little much, and 88 is more appropriate. Number 39, Corey Schneider, 90 overall. Good goaltending was the only thing the Devils had going for them last season thanks to Corey Schneider. He's getting better and better every season and has potential to be one of the best in the league. I think Corey is a very good player, but like I said, I think all the ratings are a little too high. 90 plus overall players should be really special. There shouldn't be 43 of them like there unfortunately will be. So because of this, I would give Schneider an 89. Number 38, Ryan McDonough, 90 overall. Hopefully McDonough isn't actually a 90 overall and they just messed up his rating like they did his name. Yes, I'm an Islanders fan, and yeah, I hate the Rangers, but I can honestly say without bias that McDonough is overrated in NHL 16. He only put up 33 points in 71 games last season, and even though offense isn't the primary focus for a defenseman, you should still be able to put up at least 45 points if you are really deserving of a 90 overall. McDonough is a very good defender though, so regardless of his lack of offense, I would still give him an 88 overall. Number 37, Joe Pavelski, 90 overall. The way I feel about Pavelski is similar to the way I feel about Schneider and Pietrangelo. He's a very good player, but 90 plus should be reserved for the elite players, something Pavelski, along with Pietrangelo and Schneider, just fall short of. So I would give him an 88.9. Number 36, Sergei Bobrovsky, 90 overall. It boggles my mind that Bobrovsky is a 90 overall. His numbers last year were pretty average. He had a terrific 2013-2014 season, but did not follow it up as well in 2014-2015. I'd give him an 87 overall. Number 35, Marian Hossa, 90 overall. Hossa had the same number of points as Kessel did last season. The difference between the two, though, is that Hossa can play defense, and because of this, I'll rate him one overall higher at 89. Number 34, Zach Parise, 90 overall. Parise put up 62 points in 74 games last season, with an impressive plus-minus rating of plus 21. Parise is pretty similar to Hossa in my opinion. In fact, the difference between the two players in scoring was only 1 point, although Parise did play 8 less games. Hossa is slightly better than Parise defensively though, so it makes up for Parise's slightly higher points per game ratio. What I'm trying to get at is that Parise and Hossa should both be an 89 overall. Number 33, Jakub Voracek, 90 overall. Voracek had a terrific 2012-2013 season, putting up 46 points in a season that was shortened to 48 games due to a lockout. He had a somewhat disappointing season the following year, but last year he was back to his 2012-2013 form, putting up 81 points in 82 games. Voracek is a fantastic player, and he is the only 90 overall player so far that actually deserves to be a 90 overall in my opinion. Number 32, Nicklas Backstrom, 90 overall. Backstrom's a hard player to rate. He's always at the top of the assist leaderboard, and you have to wonder if that's really because he's an elite playmaking center, or just because he plays with Alex Ovechkin. I think it's a little of both. There's no doubt in my mind that if he didn't have Ovechkin as a line mate, his assist totals would drop. I still think he's a very talented player though, and I think 90 overall is fair for someone that put up 78 points last season. Number 31, Taylor Hall, 90 overall. Taylor Hall had a pretty disappointing season, even if you do ignore the injuries. He only managed 38 points in 53 games. If he played a full 82-game season at that rate, he would have had 57 points, which is not what you expect after he had 80 points in 75 games the previous year. Hall is still a very talented player with a lot of promise, but I would drop him down to an 88 after his disappointing last season. Number 30, Claude Giroux, 90 overall. I've gone through 19 players and I haven't given any of them a higher rating than the one EA gave them, until now. Over the last 5 years, no one has more points in the NHL than Claude Giroux. Not Crosby, not Ovechkin, no one. Yet, somehow he's only a 90 overall. I'd give him a 91. Number 29, Vladimir Tarasenko, 91 overall. Tarasenko had a great year last year, and the 23-year-old is only going to get better. He managed to score 73 points in 77 games, including 37 goals. However, I think EA is jumping the gun a little here by bumping him all the way up to a 91 overall. I think a 90 would be more appropriate. Number 28, Victor Hedman, 91 overall. Are we thinking of the same Victor Hedman? Because the Victor Hedman I'm thinking of is definitely not a 91 overall. Sure, he's a good player, but making players like Hedman a 91 overall is just stupid. An 89 would be much more fitting. Number 27, PK Subban, 91 overall. No complaints here, though the fact that EA thinks Hedman and Subban are on the same skill level is a little concerning. 91 overall is good for Subban. Number 26, Erik Karlsson, 91 overall. Erik Karlsson is the best offensive defenseman in the game. I honestly think if the centers would convert him to a forward, he would easily be a point-per-game player. I'd also give him a 91 overall. The only reason I don't rate him higher is because his defense, which is obviously the primary responsibility of a defenseman, is not as good as some of the other defensemen around the league. Number 25, Patrice Bergeron, 91 overall. Patrice Bergeron is one of the most overrated players in the NHL. He only put up 55 points last season and hasn't had more than 65 points in a season since 2007. So how the hell is he rated higher than Claude Giroux, who leads the NHL in scoring over the past 5 years? I know the answer is going to be because he's good defensively, I know that. But you have to realize that he's a forward, and the primary job of a forward is to score. Being good defensively does not take you from an 85 overall player to a 91 overall player. It brings you to about an 88, which is what I would rate him. Number 24, Tyler Seguin, 91 overall. After he put up 84 points in 80 games 2 years ago, and 77 points in 71 games last year, I bet the Bruins are really starting to regret trading him for Louis Eriksson. Seguin has shown me that he's one of the NHL's best goal scorers. He gets a 90 overall from me. Number 23, Ryan Getzlaf, 91 overall. Getzlaf is a very good player, but like almost every other player, is rated a little too high. I'd give him a 90 overall. Nothing else to say without repeating stuff I've already said for other players. Number 22, Braden Holtby, 91 overall. Since when is Braden Holtby one of the best goalies in the NHL? Holtby had a very solid year last year, but definitely not enough to boost him all the way from an 86 last year to a 91 this year. I think an 89 overall is a more than fair rating. Number 21, Henrik Zetterberg, 92 overall. There are 21 players in the game that are 92 overall or higher. Does no one see a problem here? In NHL 14, there were 10 if I remember correctly, and that's how it should be. Now that we have that out of the way, let's get to Zetterberg. Zetterberg has been one of the NHL's best players for the past few years, but his age is starting to catch up with him. He only managed to tally 66 points in 77 games last season, which isn't bad, but it is low for Zetterberg standards, and is certainly too low for 92 overall. I think a 90 overall would suit Zeddy well. Number 20, Pekka Rinne, 92 overall. Rinne showed last season that even coming off a season riddled with injuries, he is still one of the best goalies in the NHL. Not quite good enough to be a 92 overall in my opinion, but I guess when you make Holtby a 91, you don't have any other choice. I'd give Rinne a 91. Number 19, Tuukka Rask, 92 overall. Not only does Tuukka Rask have one of the best first names in the NHL, he also has some pretty damn good goaltending skills. He wasn't quite as good last season as he was the season before, but he's still one of the best goalies around. I'd give him a 90 overall, right between Holtby and Rinne. Number 18, Anze Kopitar, 92 overall. Kopitar only managed 62 points last season. How is he a 92 while Drew's a 90? I'd give him an 89. He's not quite as overrated as Bergeron, but still overrated nonetheless. Number 17, Evgeny Malkin, 92 overall. Malkin is a terrific player and a very talented goal scorer. I'd give him a 91 overall, but if you've been following the trend, you'll know that's not really a downgrade. Number 16, Patrick Kane, 92 overall. Kane has arguably the best hands in the NHL. He is so fun to watch and so hard for defenders to defend against. I'd give him a 91 overall. The only thing preventing him from being a 92 in my ratings is his lack of physical play. And although he tends not to bang bodies on the ice, he seems to have a problem banging bodies off the ice without consent. Too far? Number 15, Corey Perry, 92 overall. Corey Perry just isn't at the same level as Malkin and Kane, and because of that, I'd give him a 90, one rating lower than I gave Malkin and Kane. He put up only 55 points last year, and even though he only played 67 games, 90 still seems like the most fair rating to me. Number 14, Jamie Benn, 92 overall. Jamie Benn has really been a breakout player these past 2 years, putting up a combined 166 points in 163 games. One more season of this caliber, and I'd give him a 92, but for now, I'll give him a 91, tied with Malkin and Kane. Number 13, John Tavares, 92 overall. Here's the part where I get called biased. I agree with EA, and would also give Tavares a 92 overall. He was 1 point away from the Art Ross Trophy last season and had a combined 280 points in 271 games over the past 4 years. He was a finalist for the Hart Trophy twice in the past 3 years and was voted the best center in the NHL by the Professional Hockey Writers Association for the end-of-the-year All-Star team by a landslide last season. And he's been doing this all without a decent line mate. Ben has Seguin, Ovi has Backstrom, Tavares had Okposo for the first half of the year, and Josh Bailey and Anders Lee on either side of him for the rest of the year after Okposo detached his retina. Almost every fantasy hockey site has Tavares in the top 5, and it's easy to see why. Number 12, Jonathan Quick, 93 overall. Jonathan Quick has been one of the hardest goalies to score against, but he wasn't up to his usual standards last season. Don't get me wrong, he was good, but he just wasn't Jonathan Quick good. His save percentage and goals against average were extremely similar to those of Ben Bishop, who didn't even make the top 50 list nor the top 10 goalie lists. I'd give him a 90 overall, same as Tuukka Rask. Number 11, Ryan Suter, 93 overall. I thought Suter's overall was going to go down, and when I saw he was only an 87 in the Hut preview video thingy, I was almost sure he was going down. I knew he wouldn't go all the way down to 87, but I thought maybe 89 or 90. But no, he actually went up one, and I don't understand why. He only scored 2 goals last year, which is pretty miserable even for a defenseman. He's a pretty solid defender, and he plays a lot of minutes, but when your offense is lacking that much, it's hard to justify a rating of 93. I'd give him a 90. Number 10, Pavel Datsyuk, 93 overall. Pavel Datsyuk is one of the greatest players of all time, but age is starting to get to him. His performance isn't dropping, but he's getting hit hard by injuries. Pavel Datsyuk is still the best all-around player in the game in my opinion. Unlike Kessler, Bergeron, and Toews, who we'll get to later, he can play great defense and still put up big numbers on offense. I'd give him a 92 overall. Number 9, Henrik Lundqvist, 93 overall. Up until last year, even I, as an Islander fan, had to admit that Henrik Lundqvist was the best goalie in the NHL. Not anymore though. Not only has Price proven that he is by far the best, Lundqvist's performance wasn't as good as usual last year, which is why it surprises me that he's still a 93 overall. His numbers were very similar to Tuukka Rask, so I should give him a 90. Since Lundqvist has such a good history though, I'll give him a 91. Number 8, Steven Stamkos, 93 overall. After Alex Ovechkin, Steven Stamkos is the best pure sniper in the NHL. Excluding his rookie season, Stamkos has had over a point per game in every season, except for last season. He only put up 72 points in 82 games last season, which is pretty damn good, but a little disappointing for Stamkos. Since the ratings are supposed to be based mainly on the previous season, I'm going to give him a 92. Number 7, Drew Doughty, 93 overall. I'm sorry, but this is laughable. Drew Doughty is not a 93 overall, especially if Karlsson is a 91. He only managed to record 46 points last season, which is decent for a defenseman, but not for someone that's supposed to be an offensive defenseman, especially someone that is supposed to be a superstar offensive defenseman. I don't see how an offensive defenseman with 46 points can be a 93, while an offensive defenseman with 66 points is a 91. I'm going to give Doughty a 90, making him one of the more overrated players in NHL 16. Number 6, Duncan Keith, 93 overall. In my opinion, Duncan Keith is the best all-around defenseman in the NHL. He puts up points on offense, plays very solid defense, and is super clutch as shown in the playoffs. I'd give him a 92. Number 5, Alex Ovechkin, 93 overall. Alex Ovechkin is the best goal scorer in the NHL, hands down. No one can snipe like Ovi can, and he started playing more defense last season, improving his plus-minus from a minus 35 in 2013-2014 to a plus 10 in 2014-2015. 93 is definitely a fair rating. Number 4, Shea Weber, 94 overall. Shea Weber is a great defensive defenseman with one of the hardest shots in the NHL. He's starting to decline though. His point totals decreased by 11 from 2013-2014 to 2014-2015, and he isn't exactly fast. I would give him a 91 overall, making him one lower than Keith and tied with Karlsson. Number 3, Carey Price, 94 overall. Carey Price is without a doubt the best goalie in the NHL. 94 is a fair rating, nothing more to say here. Number 2, Jonathan Toews, 94 overall. This is the part where you all dislike the video. Jonathan Toews is the most overrated player in the NHL. Oh god, I can see all the dislikes and hate comments already. Toews only recorded 66 points in 81 games last year and 68 points in 76 games the year before. Those are not stats worthy of a 94 overall, not even close. Erik Karlsson, a defenseman, recorded more points over the past 2 years than Toews did. I can hear you all yelling now, but Seagags, what about his defense? The primary job of a forward is to score goals and set up goals, not to defend. Should forwards defend to the best of their ability? Absolutely, but that is not the primary focus. I hear people saying all the time that a center is supposed to be a third defenseman, to which I say BS. More times than not, the best offensive players are centers, such as Stamkos, Tavares, Malkin, Sagan, etc. Just looking at the offensive stats, I would give Toews an 89, but since he is good defensively, I'll bump it up to a 91. Being good at defense doesn't turn you from an 89 overall forward into a 94 overall forward. Sorry. Number 1, Sidney Crosby, 96 overall. I hate to admit it, but Sidney Crosby is the best player in the NHL. I hate him, but it's true. I do think 96 is a little high though. I would make him a 94 overall. Now some players that I think were snubbed. Yuri Hudler. He had a great year last year, and I'd make him an 89 overall. Chris Letang. Letang put up 54 points in 69 games last season, 8 more points in less games than 93 overall Doughty, and somehow didn't make the top 50. I'd give him a 90 overall. Marc-Andre Fleury. I strongly dislike Fleury, but he had a great year last year and should be an 89 overall. Brent Burns. He was one of the highest scoring defensemen in the NHL last year, so I'm not sure how he didn't make the top 50 list. I'd make him an 89 overall, though I'm more concerned about whether or not they finally got his position right than what his overall rating is. Matt Duchene. I don't think he should make the top 50, so he's not really someone that I thought was snubbed. I would make him an 87 overall. But I just find it interesting that Duchene didn't make the top 50 despite the fact that Bergeron is a 91 and they have the same number of points. Daniel and Henrik Sedin. Not sure why the Sedin twins didn't make the top 50. They both had huge bounce back years last year, and I would give them each a 90 overall based on their success last year as well as their success in the past. Rick Nash. Even as an Islander fan, I have to admit that Nash should be in the top 50. He scored a lot of goals last year, and even though he never passes the puck, he's a pretty good player. I'd give him a 90. Logan Couture. Couture has been consistently good for the past few years and really hasn't gotten the recognition for it. I'd give him an 89 overall. Finally, the last snub, and probably the most ridiculous snub, John Scott. John Scott should easily be a 99 overall. It's absolutely ridiculous that he didn't even make it into the top 50. Shaking my head, EA. Shaking my head. Right now on the screen, you will see EA's top 50 on the left and my top 50 on the right. Be sure to let me know in the comments below whose top 50 you like better. If you want to debate something I said in the video, I'd be happy to have a debate with you in the comments. But if you just start throwing insults at me, I'm not going to answer. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you later.